All right, what's going on, everybody? This is going to be your bowl part 6 breakdown. The Broncos lost in another poorly officiated game, shocker. In another game where they were getting all the help they could get from the other team, shocker. The only thing that was different was the lack of turnovers by the Texans, surprisingly. And when the team doesn't turn the ball over 3+ times a game, shocker. And like we've been saying, how many of those games do you have left in the tank? How many, obviously the rest are going to be there. Obviously you're going to get help from the NFL. You pointed out earlier how the NFL announcers are just glazing the Broncos. They're just, really pushing them. For what? I don't know. I believe it's that ownership. I believe the ownership is paying some people off behind the scenes because this is unlike anything I've seen at the Broncos before. Even last year, to some degree, you didn't see this. They were actually getting made fun of by the media and the NFL. So I think these owners are paying people off. They're paying the NFL off. And I'm not just saying that just to say it. I mean, we show week after week. I mean, with how much we have to uncover in these film breakdowns in the game, it takes time to do it. I mean, it's exhausting. It's almost like having another job, to be honest. And you fans are just going to sit there, deny what you see on tape. I will say the refs did miss a call for pass interference on the Broncos today. But they
I want to make a correction. I said Surtain. That was actually Mims. That was Marvin Mims.
Yeah. Mims. That was PI for Mims for sure. But they also, if you're gonna, get one no call, you have to go with it. You have to see the no calls that benefits you. So with Courtland Sutton on his touchdown, right, that should have been called back for PI on the offense. If there was a flag to be thrown there, it wasn't defensive PI because he was looking back at the ball. Sutton pushed off. So we could, if there was a flag to be thrown there, it should have been on Courtland Sutton. But nonetheless, the rest really came out in that fourth quarter late. 4th and 1, bogus PI on the Texans, and that got them in the scoring range. And the Broncos, of course, did absolutely nothing with that, and I'm surprised they didn't throw the flag on that interception. So,
yeah. Everybody, first of all, that's out there that believes, first of all, that the Broncos' offensive line is somehow great because they're not called. They're blaming Russell Wilson, and I'm taking another look at this game, and it's another week of the line, collapsing. Nobody wants to take that into consideration when a quarterback has to be back there. I'm not, I'm trying to even this out a bit. Those tackles, man, oh man. Every week, we see this on film every week, but they just couldn't even hold, even when they were holding. And they had the CBS had a whole low light reel just for McGlinchey. I want to say something about I also, by going back, I learned something, I didn't see in the game. And when I go, I just want people to know, when I go and look at the film, it's like a blank canvas for me. I want to see everything. I want to see what the other team's doing. I want to see what the Broncos are doing. And as far as officiating goes, on the touchdown in the first quarter, they were holding egregiously on that, and it didn't get called. Just as a disclaimer there. So we see it all. We see all of it. But what I noticed the theme is the Broncos would have them, and they would somehow screw it up. They'd have them in a bad situation, but the Broncos would somehow screw it up. Singleton's retaliation thing, they had him pinned down deep, but yet it's easy to pass on the Denver Broncos so they could get out of things like that, fairly easy. And I think once again, when a team isn't shooting itself in the foot, the Broncos are the Broncos. I mean, they are who they are. So
they were in week 3. I mean, did you see the 2 touchdowns? I mean, 21 points were left on the field today by the Texans.
21 by 8 with 18 seconds left in the first quarter. They could have been up as much as 21 if the last one at that last seconds of the game in that drive. If there's 2 things. One, if that quarterback had a couple throws on the very first field goal that they did, if he would have threw that in stride, that would have been a touchdown. It almost was. And again, this is a great number 31, Mr. Fair catch, arm punt himself, Justin Simmons. That guy takes himself out of so many plays. He could have a highlight reel here of a low light reel of all how bad he sucked. But they were really lucky that didn't become a touchdown. Simmons got tangled up with his own corner and his wide receiver instead of making a play. And the corner just pushed him up to get a toe out. That one little toe out was 7 points. Then they scored the running touchdown. Then again, the quarterback, if he'd have just thrown it in stride, Surtain was completely beat. And if he catches that in stride, that's a touchdown. That's 21 points by 18 seconds. They were on their way to pull a Miami.
Yeah.
Miami. Just also really quick, that Marvin Mims, if Wilson throws that in stride, that's a touchdown. Now, if that corner would have turned his head and kept running, that would have been an easy interception for that corner. I'm doing a Cleveland Brown. I'm still doing the Cleveland Brown film. I have this whole thing on these corners. And all they have to do is just, because Mims is spotting the ball, he has to slow down. And if you're a lagging corner, you're going to get that ball if you just turn around. It's all you have to do is turn around. But if that quarterback throws it in stride, that would have been, they would have started calling you toast as a corner. So, we're not seeing quality, consistent football across the board. I think that's our biggest argument. It has been our biggest argument. Broncos winning streak. We just haven't seen quality football, and they're all patting themselves on the back when we just haven't seen, really quality football.
We're not seeing with the Broncos, but we're not seeing quality football in the NFL, period. I mean,
Yep.
Did you see a game with Sam? Again, that should have been game of the week. That's a great matchup, and Philadelphia completely wet the bed. I didn't watch that game, so I don't really have an opinion on that, but I guarantee you if I watch that game, you're going to see Philadelphia probably screwing the pooch somehow, just like the Texans did today. This was a blowout disguised as a close game. I mean, the scoreboard did not indicate how different this was. I mean, C.J. Stroud overthrew the tight end wide open for a touchdown early in the game, overthrows the guy right before halftime. The refs take off a strip for a scoop score. I wasn't even watching that. I was driving and was listening to the game. And when I heard fumble, scoop, and score, touchdown Texans, I already was like, wait for the refs to call it back. Have to watch it to know that was coming. And of course, and that was a 23-3 turn. Like, that was the game. That was the nail in the coffin for them.
That was the nail in the coffin. They couldn't let that happen. That was definitely, that was home cooking all the way for the Walmart Generals, without a doubt. And, here's the thing too. We go back to last week's game. It boggles my mind that Cleveland was actually in that game into the fourth quarter. They were given a gift. Speaking of give and give, that was a Bronco. They gave the Broncos a gift in that game. Again, we saw it this week. Oh, you're hitting the quarterback too hard. Yeah, and what was it last week, Bronco fans? Oh, yeah, it's bullshit. But now this week, that was legit. No, it wasn't legit. That was BS too. But in that game, they were up. The refs give them a gift, the Cleveland Browns, and they're almost at the 50-yard line. I mean, it just boggled my mind they were even in that game at that point, because they were so bad. And then what did they do per Cleveland Brown? they do an end around for no logical reason and fumble the ball away. I mean,
on the handoff, not like the Broncos didn't even cause that. It was on the handoff that they fumbled.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's just the quality of football we got going on now. But San Francisco, you want to go back to Philadelphia, San Francisco, they're up and down like a yo-yo too.
They just lost to the same Cleveland Browns team that the Broncos just beat. I mean, you cannot predict what's going to happen in the NFL. And college football, you know who's going to beat who 9 out of 10 times. In the NFL, I mean, tonight, didn't Kansas City just screw the pooch again against Green Bay? I mean, I looked at the score, and it was 27-19 with a minute left. I can't imagine they came back. I don't know if they actually ended up losing that game. Let me check. But yeah, I mean, even the top tier teams in the NFL, they're up and down.
Yeah,
so,
I just
lost 20 to Green.
Oh God! You know, I said, just put the Broncos in the Super. Just get it over with. Put the Broncos in the Super Bowl because I'm sure whoever gets there in the NFC, they'll figure out how to screw the pooch, and you can anoint the Broncos. Said you had a great season, my God, playing teams that choked it away. Oh, we never seen anything like this since 2012 Broncos. I never seen anything like this before. You know, everybody around there's a lot of people around the NFL bitching about how bad this season is in quality. It's glaringly bad. And the Broncos are benefiting from it because everybody sucks as much as they do.
It's awful. I mean, there's no effort. It's a watered down. What was Tom Brady saying? I mean, Tom Brady, he said there's no excellence. There's no effort. There's no, I mean, he's disgusted with what he sees on the field. If Tom Brady, Manning, Dan Marino, John Elway played in this NFL, they'd be scoring 50 a game. I mean, it's insane with how these
all the players around them, yeah.
All these rules, they benefit the offense. They're there to score points. The defense, you can't as a corner, you can't touch the receiver. There's no bump and run coverage anymore. There's no getting physical at the line of scrimmage anymore. There's no hitting the quarterback. There's no tackling. You can't hit them high. You can't hit them on their legs. Soon you're not going to be able to hit them around their hip. So what can you do? And these offenses are still fucking horrendous. I mean, they can't move the ball with these rules like that. I mean, could you imagine? I mean, Brady and Manning, Phillip Rivers, Drew Brees had to face the likes of Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, Troy Polamalu, the Ravens and Steelers. They had to play teams like the Buccaneers back in 2001 and 2002. They had to play real defenses that were very physical. Could you imagine if the Ravens from 2001 played any of these teams and were allowed to play the way they were allowed to play in 2001? Yeah, bloodbath out there. It would be an absolute bloodbath. Even against Mahomes. Mahomes is not very good. He's not a good quarterback at all. He's not in the likes of Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or he's not even. I wouldn't even put him with Dan Marino or Brett Favre.
He hit that team at the right time. He hit that team. They had built that team over with Alex Smith. He had a great player personnel around him at that. He just hit that at the right time. And give the Kansas City credit at that time for, for drafting and developing and bringing in the players that they did, bringing them up. And then they inserted, what's his face, Mahomes. They inserted him right at the right time. Hill, I mean, it was just like clockwork out there, and that's in his prime before he decided to become whatever it is he's become, this goofy media figure,
all the salary cap too, which is why they can't have anybody around him. That's why they're paying that quarterback. I look at the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is not that good, but I mean the team around is very good, and he took a team-friendly deal. So, but Mahomes takes this Mahomes deal, and you lose Tyreek Hill, which was, in my opinion, Tyreek Hill was the straw that stirred the drink. It's not Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is not doing good at all this year. It was Tyreek Hill. I mean. That guy was a threat everywhere he was on the field. In Kansas City, in my opinion, they use him even better than Miami does. So Tyreek Hill was the reason why that offense was lethal, because you couldn't cover that speed. You just couldn't do anything about it. New England had bumping and run, but you can't even do that anymore in the NFL. So Bill Belichick was the only one who figured it out against them in the AFC Championship, but it's hard to play against that, and they lose him because they're over here signing Mahomes to this big deal. But the NFL as a whole is terrible. It's awful. The refs have been awful all year long. They make it very clear who they want in these big games. I was watching the Dallas game on Thursday. My God, Dallas had 257 yards or something of penalties. I mean, even Al Michaels announcing the game is like, a flag. What else is new? A flag. What else is new? It's annoying. And
yeah, I think the NFL has to get back to being football again and stop being political this, political that, and but they're faced in an age where everybody's saying, oh well, look at all these injured players and all this over the year, and well, you played football.
Yeah. Hey, player safety. I don't give a look. If you play football, you know what you're signing up for.
That's what you're signing up for.
They're getting hurt on the job. Cool. There's hundreds of thousands of other people who are willing to take that risk for that payday, for that fame, and to do what they love. They don't give a. You think, okay, if I were playing in the NFL right now, making millions of dollars to do what I love, or to coach in the NFL, you think I give a fuck about getting injured? No, because I make enough money to get the latest and greatest surgeries, have access to that level of healthcare. I'm sure you get insurance from the NFL. That's part of the game. And if you don't want to deal with the risk of getting injured in football, don't play. Wow, crazy. But you'll play because you would rather make the millions. You'd rather do what you love than work a normal job like the rest of us have to.
Back in the day, when I was in high school, we got a visit from a bunch of former Super Bowl, very early Super Bowl, and they were showing us their knees, these cantaloupes. And they said, if you're going to play this sport, you're going to end up with something debilitating. But they said they wouldn't have it any other way. They said, you got to make the decision. If you're going to do this, one time I got hit. This guy, I swear to God, he took my head. I thought he broke my neck. And they looked at it on the film. Oh my God, it was a cheap shot. And I said, no. I said, look, if you're going to go out there and dish it out, you got to be able to take it. I said, they're cheap shot or not. I said, you're out there. You got to be willing to take it. If you're not, like you said, you got to go find something else, basketball, baseball, or whatever, lacrosse, whatever it is that, this game is to be played one way, and that's like psychotically, I guess. But they're pussifying it. I'm gonna play that fan, that Cleveland fan. Oh my God, he got hit too hard. It's going to be in my film that I'm going to do. They're pussifying the whole sport. This latest Russell Wilson, you had the same fans will say that's a bogus call, which it was, with Cleveland hitting Cleveland's. In my opinion, you didn't hit him hard enough. Yeah. That's me. You didn't hit him hard enough. Then Russell Wilson gets but that one's okay. That one was a fly. Oh no, what? No, that's bullshit too.
You can't have your cake and eat it either. Bronco fans' narrative a week ago, the game's too soft. You can't hit anybody anymore. Russell Wilson gets hit the same way. Oh my gosh, it's a flag. What's going on? You can't have it both ways. I'm on the fence of play fucking defense again. I mean, could you imagine being training to be a defensive player going into today's NFL? You don't even have to, because you can't do anything. Well, I mean, why have a defensive coordinator? Seriously, you can't do anything on defense anymore. These offenses are their own biggest enemy, and half the time, the people moving the offenses along are the referees. I mean, you have a league who caters to offense, and the offenses still suck. There's no excuse for any team scoring below 35 points a game. There's not.
I talked to high school coaches. My daughter's high school, they just won state champion. But I talked to high school coaches, I talked to college coaches, I talked to former NFL coaches, and they all have said that from a defensive standpoint, It's all getting pussified. Parents are killing the high school level of it. Colleges are starting to have to grapple too with the safety aspect of it. But the NFL, of course, lawsuits, the Players Association, blah blah blah. It's just turned into a big mess, And I think instead of paying these guys the kind of salaries and I don't think any of these sport guys should be paid what they're paid, quite frankly. I mean, you can pay them good, but fucking hey, how much money do you need? But that money, if for instance, like pros that have played and they give them that for playing that way, you got disabled or whatever, help them out a bit. Use that money to help them out, because they played the game, they sacrificed. And that's what it is. I think that would be a good way. And they decided they volunteered for it, and they, give them some sort of a stipend to help their, it's tough. I mean, it is getting out of a car or something. I mean, after the lights and the cameras have all gone down, you still got to do all that kind of stuff. It's hard, but that's where the NFL could have put the money. But I don't think by cutting the balls off the NFL is going to help that product out.
I mean, you're gonna in a game like football, you're gonna get concussions. Doesn't matter how good the helmets are. Doesn't matter how good the padding is. If you get hit and your head moves like that, your brain is still hitting. Your brain is still rattling and hitting your skull. So your brain is still taking a beating, even if you're not getting hit in the head. Just because you get hit in the you get a concussion. But if you fly back because you get hit in the chest, your brain is still gonna smash into the back of your skull because that's what happens. And you're still going to get a concussion. You're still going to get brain trauma. So if that's not a risk you're willing to take, I understand. But there's other people who are willing to take that risk. And that's what the NFL has to decide at the end of the day. If the NFL is going the way it's going to go, people are going to stop watching. And when people will stop.
A skirt. We got to put a skirt on the quarterback. And if you pull it down before he throws the ball, we'll check the video on that. Okay, his skirt came down.
In the flag football at this point. I mean, my God.
Flag football, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely insane. And my thing is, the NFL has to decide at some point, do you want to be a football league or do you want to be a flag football league? Because if you want to be a football league, you want it to be a physical sport, then make it a physical sport. And I think this whole problem with, the NFL getting soft is a symptom of what the world is turning into. There's always, you can't say this, you can't say that, you can't joke about this, can't do that. It's just a product of the generations that are coming up, and
they're being conditioned. They're being conditioned.
They're being conditioned.
They're being conditioned.
Under a new system here in the next decade. So, I mean, that's end of the day, if the men aren't revolting and the men have no backbone, they're going to push right over all of us with what's coming in the future. But I mean, that's just a product of.
Well, that's what the world. That's what the plantation owner wants. He doesn't want anybody getting uppity,
No, can't.
Yeah, nope. Don't get uppity. I can't do that. But I just want to say this though. In Colorado here, we've got both men and women's rugby that they full tackle, full hit, women's rugby, full hit, and they can tackle better than these guys. It's pathetic. Yep. It's pathetic. No helmets, no shoulder pads, the way it really should be, in my opinion. But
I think the shoulder pads make it more dangerous, actually, because you're not absorbing. Those pads don't do anything. I mean, seriously. When I played, when I rode the bench in high school back in the day, because I was too small, that I got hit. Those pads actually hurt more to get hit by. I'd have much rather gotten, when we'd go no pads and we'd simulate tackling. Tackling felt more natural without the pads on. It just did. It hurt less, and I felt like it was less dangerous. And I honestly would have rather played without pads because lowering the shoulder and getting hit with a helmet and a face mask, that fucks you up. But I think the way that it should be played is no padding, and your body absorbs the blow as it should.
Well, you develop, you know how to tackle because you do so much of it. You tackle, you hit, you do a lot of it. I mean, we played rugby. You can hit with your shoulder. Yeah, it's great. You can just hit somebody right in the solar plex, man.
To do, it's a combat weapon. Like, it's supposed to absorb impact. That's what it's made for.
I never had a problem with the shoulder, hitting somebody with my shoulder. And the thing about the helmets, it was always like a bucket on your head, but with the helmets, I've noticed it's encouraged people to use their head like a battering ram. And still, even with the high tech shoulder pad, you can still screw your neck up. Yep. You leading with your head. You should be able to tackle without using your head. I mean, precisely. But I don't think there's any emphasis. And the people that are doing good, it was just Aaron Donald had a video, and he works tirelessly on technique. And oh my God, these guys are just amazing. He said the only reason, he said, I'm a big guy, but that doesn't mean anything, because if somebody smaller with good technique can use my size and speed and stuff against me. And he said that I got to keep working and honing and honing and honing. And that's why he is the kind of guy he is. But guys that don't care about, I think Judy got so much shit. I think he was trying to, I think when he came in, he didn't think he had to do shit. I think Cortland Sutton felt the same way. And I think because people like us giving them so much shit, it seemed, Cortland Sutton's brought it up a little bit, but they finally, I'm just saying around the league, people that work hard at that's all you need to do in this league, because I don't think a lot of people are working hard. I think they're going through the motions when you watch these games.
Do you think Jerry Jeudy or Cortland Sutton work as hard as Julian Edelman worked for the Patriots?
Oh no, no. When Manning was in with the Colts, I was watching a little documentary because I was fascinated on their offense, what they were running. And all off season, him and his receivers were going over and over and over. And he would, I was watching just some of this old Colts stuff, and he would just throw like into weird areas where there wasn't anybody, and all of a sudden a receiver would just, hit a route and just catch the ball. I mean, just because they had practiced it so much. So they would get defenses to, go and leave these spaces, and that's where they would throw the ball, or Manning. But they worked hours, on end during the off season on stuff like that. And that's what it takes. Bucket Man was saying that, he's like the fact that Russell Wilson is committed to the pocket a lot more, at least, trying to work it out before running around and scrambling. So
half the time he has when he runs, it's because he doesn't have a choice, because
he doesn't have a choice. Yeah, he doesn't.
The sack, or he has to take off running. But Russell Wilson has improved from the pocket. But I mean, for the amount of money he's making and taking, I can't be happy with that. He could throw from the pocket. Okay, well, you're making $250 million. You should be an X factor on the field, and you're not. That's my problem with him. He's an average.
$250 million. No way. That the 200. That's all in that front office that brokered that deal.
Their only hope with that is he takes a pay cut, and I don't think he will. Why would he?
Well, yeah. You got the Walmart trust. The trust fund there. Yep. Now, yeah, $250 million. That's nothing. It's a tax write-off. Yep. That's all it is.
A pocket change. What? Not even a blip on the radar for these guys, but yeah. I mean, what did Peyton Manning in the day when he was playing harp on the most? Preparation. He didn't. Preparation and hard work, but preparation, watching film, practicing in the off season. The guy didn't take any days off. I mean, his teammates thought he was insane. Other defenses say they'd rather go up against Brady than go up against Manning, because Manning was the coach on the field. He was a scientist on the football field. And I think if you put Peyton Manning in the situation that Brady was in New England, he'd have just as many rings as Brady did, because You know, how many games do we see Peyton Manning lose in the playoffs because, dropping passes or missing field goals or blowing coverages like Raheem Moore in 2012? They would have won it all that year if Raheem Moore simply covered instead of trying to make a play on Jacoby Jones. I mean, there are a lot of instances where Peyton Manning got costed trips to the Super Bowl because his team didn't show up. I mean, that's why when he left Indianapolis in 14 years, he went to the Super Bowl twice, and in Denver, he went to the Super Bowl under Pat Bowlen's Broncos. Disclaimer: he went to the Super Bowl twice in 4 years. So, and then when they got blown out by the Seattle Seahawks, they worked on getting rid of John Fox, who was the biggest culprit, in my opinion, of not having the team tough and ready to play those kind of teams. They weren't ready to face a team like the Ravens. They weren't ready to face a team like Seattle because they didn't have that toughness. And I think Wade Phillips and Gary Kubiak brought that element. So, but I mean, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, hard workers, and they liked guys who had hard working ethic. Like, you go on the Patriots, you have Wes Welker, one of my favorite receivers, Julian Edelman, one of my favorite receivers. You have, guys like Deion Branch, Aaron Hernandez when he was good. You had Gronkowski. What did they all have in common? Hard workers. They just did their job and they worked hard.
They only needed a little crack, and anything thrown to them they could catch. And let me tell you something about those guys you mentioned. If you go back and watch the film on those guys, they made Brady look a lot better than, Brady wasn't throwing precise, perfect. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Brady, like any quarterback, is the ball's going to be, in various places, and they could catch it, up around there, right below their knees, or right over here, or up over there. They could catch it no matter where that. And they like you said, they would work and they would grind at doing that.
A lot of the yards that Brady gets are yards after the catch because, the Patriots ran a simple offense. Very
like
simple.
Watching fucking paint, dry.
Yeah,
but it was effective.
It was effective, and I remember watching the Broncos go up against the Patriots getting pissed off because there's nothing that they could do. There's nothing you can do. They're just open, and Brady hits them. Brady's strength
That's all
he's getting rid of that ball very fast, and he throws them at the perfect time when they're cutting on their route, and they'd get 5 extra yards. They would break tackles. They'd lower their shoulder. They get physical. They also knew how to run block. They could do it all. They could do it all, and that's what I liked about the Patriots when they were in their heydays. Hard work. Now you have the Patriots players complaining about the Patriot way. Oh, it's too strict. It's not fun.
They want to be like the rest of the NFL.
And everyone's
lackadaisical and slouchy and
Bill Belichick, coaches that and now they're shitting on Bill Belichick, absolutely disrespectful, because Bill Belichick is, in my opinion, he's the greatest coach of all time. He did it consistently.
But who did he learn from? Learn from Walsh in San Francisco. Basically the same thing. Same thing. Quick throws. Montana was a perfect. This is the guy who built the lines, both the offensive and defensive line, into juggernauts, literal juggernaut. And it was just, Montana wouldn't be touched, and he'd get rid of the ball quick. He had Rice. Now there you go again. Another guy that worked endlessly was Rice. Rice didn't just walk off I think today's players, because of social media, hype, and all this stuff, they think that it just comes. Well, it's a switch, and they're talented, but they're not hard workers. A lot of them. They thought Jerry Rice just walked off the bus and just was great all of a sudden. That's not how it worked.
Marvin Harrison.
Marvin Harrison worked hard.
Yeah. And they reap the rewards of hard work. That's why I like guys like Eric Decker, guys like Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, Brandon Stokely is another one. Same exact thing. Those are my kind of receivers. In today's NFL, these receivers, I would take Wes Welker over any of the starting receivers in the NFL today. They just don't cut it. They don't run block anymore. They don't work hard.
There's players that are receptive to that, but I think there's a political system going on. Like Justin Simmons, why the fuck is that guy even on the team?
It's like the workplace, right? So I go to work and, people who don't fucking do anything, they get the most praise and take the credit for the work people do. I go in and I shut the fuck up and just do the work, and other people brag about how hard they work, and I'm like, dude, I spend my night cleaning up after you, and my day's worse because of you guys. But that's what's going on in the NFL. Caden Stearns, he puts in the work, and he's a better safety than Justin Simmons, and he's on the bench. He's injured right now. On the bench, anyways.
Look at Jonathan Cooper. I mean, they were having to hold him again. I was looking at the holds on him. He doesn't get all they talk about is Nick Burrito, because that's what the PR company get. Nick Burrito, and where is he when he's getting blocked? He's nowhere to be seen when he's being blocked.
I forgot he played for the team. Jonathan Cooper's the best edge rusher on the team, and he doesn't get any of his flowers.
Oh, no. Yeah, you can't talk about him. And we hate the Broncos, right? We hate them.
Yeah. Yep. He makes a good play. All right, enough of that. Get off the field. I mean, Jerry Jeudy, I will give him credit. He played a good game today and didn't get seen. I want to see that consistently. And I think a lot of the problem with Jerry Jeudy is he's not a deep route receiver. He's not. And they love to use him as that. But he performs his best when you run the slant routes, you run the out routes, you run the comeback routes. Those are what he should be eating off of. He's a slot receiver. He could be one of those guys who's a yard after the catch kind of guy if he'd gained some weight and he would embrace that role. But I mean, that the Broncos like to use him as a go ball wide receiver. I'm like, no.
He would fit in if he would have went into the Patriots and Patriots said, look, you got to clean your act up. We're going to use you in a way, and if you want your greatness, you got to listen to what we say. You got to work hard and do what we say. He could have been one of those great players for that at that time for that kind of system. I think Marvin Mims is being pissed away. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Jeudy should be setting up the Cortland Sutton home run ball. He dropped a pass. It was probably one of the best passes, what I thought was in Russell Wilson's career. He had Minnesota linebacker ready to he did knock his block off, but he still got that pass like a rocket right there. And it was right all Jeudy had, all that talk Jeudy does. He could have had that and he could have walked the walk, but he dropped it. He still has a little bit of dropsy doodle. And that's why
I think that's why I throw to him.
Yeah.
Because the only game I've seen him get used this way was in week 1 against the Titans in 2020. He was getting used all game just like that. And he was open all game. He's just not catching the ball. So you can be wide open all you want. You just don't catch the ball, and that's your number one ability. And here's the thing I'm going to say to the Broncos. If you don't trust him, why is he in the starting lineup when you have LJ Humphrey? Why is he in the starting lineup when you have a Marvin Mims? You think Bill Belichick would keep a guy he can't count on the field? No. I mean,
my guess is they're going to shop him next year. It's just at the season. It's my guess.
This offseason, I think Russell Wilson might be one too, because that's why they're probably hyping him up so much with his stats and all this bullshit, because they're trying to market him to get rid of him, hopefully. They're trying to get him to play just well enough so that way they could try and find a team, but no one's going to take that contract.
Well, this opens up another conversation. In my opinion, this winning streak the Broncos found themselves in, it's like a short-term gain, but a long-term loss, because it justifies keeping those people that have been around for 8 years. I don't know why you would do that. The ownership should just move on from them. It also doesn't force you to retool this offensive line. The tackles were horrendous in this game. They've been horrendous but they don't get the penalties, thrown on the flags thrown for all the holding, bear hugging, tackling. The defense needs a revamp. Justin Simmons should be gone. That should be say la vie later. They need really an interior guy, not more edges. They need Browning to be, to move Browning where he belongs. They need to move on from Josie Jewell. Did Josie Jewell even play today? Is he out?
even know. I didn't. Alex Singleton and Josie Jewell are the same exact player. I mean, they both suck.
Yeah, one thing.
He blows up the run at times up the middle. That's what I'll give him. But I
Yes,
need that
yes.
for I need a Swiss Army knife as a linebacker. I need someone who could cover and stop the run and rush the passer. You need to do it all as an inside linebacker because, I mean, these players are just too fast. Tight ends, they're insanely fast, and you have to cover. You have to.
Now, one thing that the Texans were showing the Broncos, their linebacking was attacking the running holes, the running lanes. They weren't just like Josie Jewell and Singleton when it comes to the running game. They'll just sit there and wait. They were attacking the holes and breaking through the line and tackling the running backs. It's probably one of the worst running games the Broncos have had because the linebacking could hit that hole and get behind the line of scrimmage. That's what you do as a linebacker. What do we see? And I don't know if this is going on league wide because this is the first time I even seen it.
I was very defense of the Texans. They played very, very good defense by the Texans. They're flying around, tackling. They're blowing up that.
Linebackers should just do that, no matter what team it is. They should hit the gaps and.
We're over here like amazed to see basic linebacker play.
That should be normal.
Yeah, that should be something you see play in and play out. But you don't see it anymore. I turned on the Ravens versus Broncos playoff game, and I was amazed at how much better the game was back then. I mean, that is. I was really actually like, damn, the NFL has gone downhill. I put on a game, the 2014 Patriots, and watched them. That's my favorite team like ever. I mean, you want to talk about a team that could do it all offensively and defensively. That team I think was better than the 07 Patriots. That was a team of toughness and grit. And if I were to be building a team, I'd want a team like that team. I mean, they were great defensively. They're great. They had great pass rush, great interior pass rush, stop the run. Brandon Browner and Darrelle Revis, very physical. You had one guy like Browner who's going to beat up on the receiver, be physical with the receiver. He wouldn't make it in today's NFL, by the way. Brandon Browner is a damn good corner. You have Darrelle Revis, who is more of the technical guy locking it up. And then you had Devin McCourty and Patrick Chung out there as safeties. But, I mean, they had a really good team, and they were physical, and they suffocated you on defense, and they tired you out on offense. That was there's not many teams I can name that were better than that unit, and that's one of my. When you look at when the NFL was actually decent, that year is probably the last good year they had. Even the Cowboys that year had toughness.
Well, let me ask you then: was that team you're describing? Were they consistent through the year? Were they consistent at what they did?
Yeah, they got their asses handed to them by Kansas City, and they got their heads out of their asses after that, and they wrote them off. All the Patriots and Bill Belichick put them in check, and they beat the shit out of Cincinnati when everyone said the Patriots are done, Tom Brady's done, Cincinnati's going to beat up on them. I'm like, no. I'm like, Cincinnati is going to get their asses kicked in Foxborough. And that's exactly what happened. And they didn't.
So what you saw was consistent football. Do you see any consistent football between any team in the NFL?
No. I mean, right when I'm sold on the Eagles go and fucking lay an egg out there, basically. I mean, the Eagles were the only team that's been consistent. And then when I say, the Eagles are a model team to watch, they go and they get their asses kicked by the 49ers. And the 5 weeks ago, got their asses kicked by Cleveland. Got their asses kicked by Minnesota, but the same team couldn't kick the Broncos' ass. I mean, it's absolutely pathetic.
That's why I'm saying people may have thought I was sarcastic when I said just put the Broncos in the Super Bowl. Just put them in there.
They could realistically make it. I mean,
they could realistically win it all. Just put them in and forget them. Just put them in.
Look at Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo. They're playing Kansas City next week. Who's gonna fuck up in that game?
Coin toss. Who knows? Yep.
I mean, it's absolutely sad when you would go up against the Patriots when they were in there. The reason why I bring up the Patriots is they were consistent for a long period of time. Didn't matter who they had no excuses. They had no PR. Bill Belichick didn't even like the media. The Patriots didn't even like the media. But what you saw every Sunday was, especially in New England in December, was an ass kicking no matter who they played, and they played that way whether you were the best team, whether you're the biggest threat or that you weren't on their radar, and that's why they have the rings. And
4 quarters, they would play 4 quarters.
4 quarters.
4 quarters.
They were up by 20. They're going to go up by. If they're up by 28, they will score that touchdown with 5 minutes left in the fourth.
4 quarters of football is what you're going to get. I'll agree. They were a 4-quarter team, and I did as much. I could say there's some asterisks that people don't want to talk about in their early days with. I mean, look at what he had with Bledsoe. The team was already he had just like the Alex Smith at the Chiefs. He had the whole fucking the team in place when Brady set in. But what, like you said, people would gripe, they're in the score. I said 4 quarters. It's a 4-quarter game. I would say why I hated the Patriots. I hated them. But I said, why should they give up on the gas? Yeah. It's a 4-quarter game. This isn't a 3, a 2.5. This is a 4-quarter game. Never forget it. They're doing their job. And then they coined that term. Yep. I said, but before they ever did that, I said, but they're doing their job.
Yep.
So you don't see anything like that anymore. Oh, everybody, we did enough. We pushed, we went downfield. And okay, well, maybe we got to work a little hard right now. And we'll try to get this. Referees, do your thing, get us back in.
New England definitely has referee play, which I'll off. But New England, every time the Broncos would play I'd be getting literally livid. I mean, you'd have to check me for a stroke watching the Broncos play them, especially when they'd go to New England and play them. I would get absolutely pissed off because there's nothing you could do. I mean, they had T.J. Ward, they had all these defensive players, and the Patriots team they couldn't do anything. I mean, they made the Broncos defense look amateurish the times they'd play them in Foxborough. I mean, I'm a fan. I hated New England when they were good, but after New England left and we're seeing what we're seeing now in the NFL, I would kill to watch that team play in today's NFL because they would be beating the brakes off of any team that they would play, whether it's the Eagles, the 49ers, any of these teams. None of these teams would stand a chance against that team. Even the Broncos in the 2012 to 2015 run. I mean, that was a good team to watch, but I mean, seriously, the Steelers back in the day were fun to watch. The Ravens from 2008 to 2012 were fun to watch. The Ravens now are fun to watch, but I mean, we just don't get it. I mean, even when we say good things about the Ravens, they go and they screw the pooch too. So, I mean, you don't know, and that's what I'm sick of. High quality football is what I want, and we're not getting that, and that's a problem with the NFL as a whole. And the Broncos are just the team we watch.
This Bronco team wouldn't even stand a chance, not even remotely, against the 90s Broncos with Elway, Terrell Davis, the rest of them. They wouldn't, the defense they had, it wouldn't even be a contest.
It wouldn't stand a chance. 2005 Broncos.
Yeah, it's just hype, all hype. Now I'm going to change the subject really quick on you. I still, it's the weirdest thing. It goes back to where we were talking about pussifying the game and referees. Their quarterback for the Texans, they did a quarterback draw. It was a quarterback draw. There was trying to get the 1 yard quarterback sneak, whatever you want to. Anyway, he gets out of the huddle. And they want him to go. Okay, you got to check your head. You got to go check. And he was like, "What do I?" He goes, "Do I look?" And he was joking with him. He thought they were like joking. He starts screaming, "You got to get out of here!" Why did they want him out so bad? What? Because they were driving again? I noticed when the other team drives, the weird things, the referees get really weird with the other team. Really weird. People, phantom movement and all this weird stuff.
Yep. I mean, it's very weird. You see referees high-fiving certain players and stuff. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you guys, but, when I'm done making predictions on the NFL because it's ridiculous. You don't know who's going to win week in and week out, and it's because of how bad the product is. And
yeah, I think you could put any team in any two teams in the Super Bowl, and you may be surprised at the outcome. It may be totally not exactly what you expected.
The NFL knows that their product isn't good, and that's why they're trying, they're trying to make things different with the Walmart Generals. They're trying to make things different, Kansas City isn't reliable. Obviously, they just lost to the fucking Packers. The AFC is weak as piss this year. I mean, it's insane. The NFC is going to run away with the Super Bowl. I'm done. I don't know who's running away with the Super Bowl, but yeah, it could be anyone.
No, it's a mystery. Just that watching is very difficult to do. It's not like what you were saying. These other teams, it's not that anymore.
Yeah,
but I think the Broncos were that spark. That's what I think. The Broncos show. Well, this is different. This is new. This is kind of fresh. If we could just keep running with this, because when I go and look at the NFL media content, you don't see people talking about X and O's at all. Oh, no way are you going to see that. You see, these cute little NFL babes, and it's all talk showy and giggles, and look at this highlight. Oh my God. Oh, did you look at the stats here? Stat. We're not looking at film. Oh, don't look at I don't need to look at film. No. Where were all the I'd put out a video. Where are all the detractors?
I know. Yeah, where are you guys at? I mean, what did we say? We said how many 5+ turnover games are left in the tank. You didn't have that, and you lost. And you should have got. But, I mean, the other team, I guess, wanted it a little more than the last 5 you played. All I'm going to say, before my battery dies on me is NFL is a dying product, and you need to decide whether you want to get back to being a football league, or you need to decide whether you want to be a flag football league,
or a social media league. The social media league,
or a ESPN talk show league, or basketball with your stat lines. I was hearing the announcers talk about Texans lead the league in explosive play rate. What the fuck is explosive play rate? That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard of.
I guess it's when the Broncos lead the gargantuan canyons, these wells that you could just throw in the ball.
And another thing, Broncos, what did they do today? What were they doing all day long? Taking top off the defense. So, shocker, when you got away from running the ball, sticking to the run, when you got away from the quick passing game, when you got away from the outside runs of Jaleel McLaughlin, suddenly you stopped. Suddenly Russell Wilson was throwing more interceptions. Suddenly he was getting.
Yeah, why is that? Because your offensive line sucks. You do not have an offensive line for the greatest show on turf. You just don't.
The first drive of the game, they went Shermer ball 3 plays in a row. I was like, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, right when I was
they're believing their own bullshit again.
Front office must be they must have given the front office a little more trust this week, because my God, that looked nothing like what we've seen for the last 5 weeks offensively.
No, I know. I'm thinking the same thing too. Thinking exactly the same thing too. The front office is getting uppity. They're get rid of them. Let Sean Payton run this thing and get people we'll see, and get rid of Elway's little cherished players, and let build from this foundation. If they could do that hard work, and if they could be one of the only teams that are consistent, you could start looking at Super Bowls again, probably, with this league. I mean, it wouldn't take much.
It would take just a little bit of common sense and a little bit of work ethic and a little bit of roll up your sleeves. Just a little bit. That's more.
You still can't hit the quarterback,
Nope. Next year, they're banning the tush push for that Philadelphia came up with. Why? Stop it.
What is it for people? What is a tush push?
So it's a quarterback sneak, basically, where you have 2 players behind you pushing the quarterback forward.
No, you go back into the cushion. You got to go check your head. Go get off the field. And the backup quarterback was still able.
Yep.
To complete a major.
Yep.
Didn't work. It didn't work.
Best way to avoid that, not having your opposition in a short yardage situation. So play better defense, and you don't have to worry about it. Oh, but no, can't have that.
Yeah.
Leave it to the NFL. The one thing that teams actually can use that works. I mean, in a league where we're dying to see offenses move the ball, and in a league where all the rules benefit them, let's ban a play that actually works. I mean, I mean,
Hard to look too much like rugby. Can't have that.
Yep, we're NFL's a bad product. We'll see what we get next week with the Chargers and the Broncos. Oh God, that's going to be a terrible game.
Happy to be there, Chargers. They're just happy to be there. They're just happy to be there. We made it. We won and done, man. We're happy to be there. It was such success.
The
Bronco Nation is sounding more and more like Charger Nation. We're just happy to be there. We're 6-6 and just happy to be there. Just happy to be there.
Man,
success, man. That is success.
The battle of who wants to lose this game more. That's what we're going to see next week. Oh, I hate when the Broncos and Chargers play each other. They're in the same boat. I mean, seriously, they're
both just happy to be there.
Yeah, they're going to split this series. I don't know. I might skip that game. I look forward to that game as much as I look forward to the Broncos playing the Chiefs because I already know it's going to happen. Like, both teams are just going to screw the pooch all game long, and it'll come down to some last-minute something,
I guess they're going to get the Broncos back in Denver for that one, right?
Yep. I think Denver loses the one in L.A. and they win the one in Denver.
Is next week Denver?
Yeah, so this next week is in L.A. Then I think I think they're on a 2-game road trip. So they're going to L.A., which is not really a road game because L.A. doesn't have fans. And then they're going to Detroit. And then they're coming home against, I think, who are they playing? I think the Raiders.
Detroit, that could go either way. Either the Broncos get their ass kicked or they kick the Detroit's ass. That's going to be that Detroit's up and down like a yo-yo. You don't know. They were on.
Historically,
Saints. Go ahead.
Historically, Broncos get destroyed by Detroit no matter where they play them. I mean, the Broncos have always struggled against Detroit. I think that'll be a loss, but I don't know. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to predict these.
You said yeah.
I watched the Detroit Lions, the 2-win Detroit 2011. Actually, I think the Lions had a good season that year. Go into Denver and beat them 45-10. And I watched a few years back, they went into Detroit and lost 44-7. So I mean, they routinely have gotten blown out by the Lions. So, but I don't know. Anything can happen.
True, but they do have we're just happy to be their Chargers. So
that's going to be a fun game to watch. I think we'll probably see Bucket Man not watch that game at all, to be honest. And I don't blame him for that.
Well, both teams are just happy to be there. They're just so happy to be there at, middle of the road. Yeah.
Chargers, when I was hyping them up so much when they had that defensive line with Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, and all those guys, and they just totally sucked. So, I mean, the Chargers found a way to ruin Khalil Mack, who is one of the better outside linebackers I've seen in recent memory. So,
yeah, they have a soft culture. I want to talk about just one before you go. The last thing, the new culture in Broncos country is we expect the other team just to cough it up for us. We expect the other team to hand us everything to us. We expect the referees to give us all the breaks in the world. It's expected now that that's going to happen. That seems to be what the new culture is. And remember what I said right during the off season. I sent it on the communication line. The article where it was outside the content creators. The article with Sean Payton, and he said the reason I came to Denver is that the NFL is looks at the Broncos much more favorably than it does the Saints, and that's why I'm here. They're willing to be a little bit more favoring. I don't know if you read that when I sent it.
No, I saw that one. I mean, I heard him say it. So
and it makes me think about how this season has gone. That's all.
The Broncos are one of the mainstream franchises like the Cowboys, 49ers, and Steelers, and I'm sure the Patriots will be on their way to getting help soon eventually too. So they don't care about teams like the Vikings, the Jets, the Bills to some degree. Even the Bills, they don't really care much about. The Giants. Yeah, those.
Yeah, something's up with the Raiders too, because Al Davis, they didn't like Al Davis too much. So, but they were always iconic too. But
Yeah.
well.
Yep. I think it all depends on how marketable a team is. So.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, now they're marketable because Russell Wilson's there, and it's something different. The spark. I mean, I got to admit this, and I'll get shit for this. Even I would rather see the Broncos as a wild card than Cleveland, the Texans, or Pittsburgh. I'm a little on the fence with Pittsburgh because I haven't really watched a lot of it. I've listened to some of the games, but nothing really comes across as the wow factor with them either. Like, there's a little bit of Sean Payton and Russell Wilson that wows you a little bit more than a little bit more.
I mean, what I will give the Sean Payton credit for is he looks like the Broncos have more grit than they have in the past. Like when they face adversity, they continue to like fight offensively and they don't give up and they don't fold as much as they did in the past. Because before, like last year, they didn't even go in believing they'd win. Now it's like they fight to, which is good. But I mean, Sean Payton needs.
Yeah, I've noticed that too.
Yeah, so I think the Broncos have more of a fighting culture and a toughness about them, more so than they did a year ago or two. So I'll give them that. I think they kind of had a little degree of toughness defensively with Vic Fangio, but offensively I see more toughness. I see more holding too. But I mean, if you're gonna get away with it, you're gonna get away with it. So.
It's just to be fair too. It's across the NFL. They're allowing that to happen, but teams that have really bad pass protection offensive lines, they're much more egregious offenders of that. I think what the Broncos 3 and Terry, even Cushenberry, which they really should upgrade that position, is that forward running. That's where their strength is, but pass pro is definitely not their strength. This game just screamed it. They're all mad at Russell Wilson, but did you actually look at the offensive line? Did you actually look at it? And then the play calling from the front office, let's just go Shermer ball, the greatest show on turf. You don't have the offensive line for that.
For that, the only guy Marvin Mims, but you won't even be able to protect long enough for him to do that. That's Bronco fans could say this, that, and the third about the refs. What cost you this game was going Shermer ball. You got away from the ball.
Are they the refs? So when they lose, it's the refs. It was all their fault, right?
When they win, and the refs cause it, yeah. But
wow,
control the time of possession like you have the last 5 games. Did you use the quick passing game? Did you run the ball? Were you in 3rd and 3 and 3rd and 1 every time, or were you in 3rd and long every time? I mean, that's your answer right there. That is your answer right there. You saw 5 weeks of Sean Payton ball, and you saw him go back to Shermer ball. When did they lose? They lost to the Raiders playing Shermer ball. Week 2, playing Shermer ball. Week 3, they tried to play Shermer ball, and they just got absolutely bum rushed. Week 4, they were playing Shermer ball. Then they started playing Sean Payton ball against the Bears. And then from that point forward, you saw more Sean Payton ball. You saw more disciplined, tough football. Old school football. That's one thing I'll give the Broncos. They have an old school offense. And it works.
They're up in that front office. You better get rid of them. Get rid of them.
And then
they're going to be your ball and chain. They are going to bring you down.
You go back to Shermer ball this week. This was a winnable game for you. I mean, if you would have, when Russell Wilson threw a pick with like 10 minutes left in the game, why? Because they're playing Shermer ball. They're trying to take the top off the defense. I get doing that once a game, once in a blue moon, maybe once a quarter. But you're fucking doing that every single play. I mean, my God, dude. No team is throwing the ball deep that many times in a row. You have to set that up. That's what pisses me off, because I wanted the Broncos to score there. I mean, it got to the point where I'm like, all right, like if they're gonna win, might as well like root for them to win at the end. When I want them to win, they fucking lose it. When I want them to lose, they win. It's fucking annoying. You can't be happy as a Bronco fan.
No, I just want to see some changes at that. Like I said, get rid of that front office from.
Yep.
The defense, right? They need push up the middle. They do not have push up the middle. They need to address the tackle. I mean, McGlinchey is
where do you start?
He's a train wreck, man.
Yeah, it's going to be a 4-year project for this team, that's for sure. Drafting.
The problem is it's a little bit of success. They're running with they believe something they're not.
Yeah, you won a few games, but they don't care about how they won them, obviously. This was a playoff game for you. That's what you said. What did you do? You wanted to do the greatest show on turf, and now you're out of the playoff race again. So
this would be a good opportunity for any team just to start doing it right and just be consistent. But again, you're dealing with players that live in an era that they probably have the attention span of a goldfish, there's all the distractions. There's more distractions than there ever have been. It's a societal thing too. It's not just the NFL. It's everything that players and the coaches and the league is creating its own problems and what they're up against. So, how it is.
Yep, that's how it is. Well, I'll see you on the next one. Good luck to detractors. I told you once the team stopped turning the ball over, they didn't. That's what happens. But this team needs to do it right. They need to make changes. Until it's made, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change. And them going back to Shermer ball, that's concerning. We'll see what they do next week.
They'll just be happy to be there with the Chargers. Arm in arm. We're also just happy to be here. We're 6-6 and happy to be here. Success, dude. 6-6. Success.
They'll both be 6. Yeah, 5-7.
I've never seen so much hype for a team that had lost so much. I haven't seen so much hype for a 6-6 team ever. It wasn't even that. It was 6-5, right? And then it was 5-5 at one time, or I don't know what, but it wasn't a winning team. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah. Yep. Well, that's what we get. But I think it's back to reality now for the Broncos fans out there. That's what I think, but we'll see.
Yeah, but I'm sure they'll have tons of excuses. They always do.
Yep. They'll be in our comments.
I don't think so. I think they're hiding as usual. It's they evaporated again.
Yep, when the Chargers screw the pooch next week, they'll be back.
Yeah. So the Broncos are world beaters. Well, they are.
Hey, but our most consistent one, the camera guy, John Elway's burner account.
Yeah, John Elway's. Yeah, well, yeah, he's a front office. He's definitely a front dude.
He's our little industry plant who just comments on every video. Thank you for boosting our views and helping the algorithm. We appreciate it. All right, I'll see you in the next.
All right, take care. It's nighty night. Bye.